Okay, so now we can start.
Yeah,
We've
Okay,
been waiting for you, Deb.
really, I've been
evening.
trying for about 3 minutes, so that's a little weird, but whatever.
good evening. Welcome to the Tuesday, November 10th, 2020 meeting of the Board of Police Commissioners and the Woodbridge Traffic Authority. My name is Robert Burke. If I can take a roll call, because I've been told that's what we're supposed to do for these Zoom meetings, which are being conducted pursuant to order of the governor, which permits us to do that, Executive Order 7B. So if you can just raise your hand. Dr. Desir is present. Dr. Freed, present, and Commissioner Falsigno.
I am here.
Also present is Janice Iancenzi, Deputy Chief Ray Stewart, and Chief Frank Cappiello. Good evening, everyone. First, I'd like to start off and apologize for last month's meeting. I wish I had something exciting I could tell you. I just completely lost track of time, and I noticed, I think it was Commissioner Falsigno had sent me a number of text messages looking for my location and why I wasn't present. And I apologize for any inconvenience that caused anyone. So moving on to our short agenda.
We were just worried about you. We didn't care about the meeting. We were cared about you.
We thought something had happened to you.
You know, I believe Dr. Desir, Mr. Falsigno, I'm not sure if I
But
believe.
we didn't want Steve to take over his chair, so.
Yeah, and that's why there was probably a revolt and people were very concerned.
But I seriously think that the hosting has to be shared. There should never be ever a Zoom meeting without shared hosting just because accidents happen. So who's the co-host?
That's me.
It's not, can't be Steve. 'cause
I
it's
mean, seriously, co-host on the Zoom, so we never have to not have a meeting.
That's a good question. I've never set up co-hosting before, but I'm sure that's an easy thing to set up.
You can do it right now as host. You just click on participants, click on Stephen's name as a co-host.
Okay.
And there, every meeting that we set up, we could ask Janice to set it up with at least one, if not two co-hosts, because there's no need ever to have to wait for a host to sign you in.
I set up the meeting, so I'll make sure I do that next time. I'll put Steve as a
Thank you.
co-host. Okay, so first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from September 8th of 2020. Is there a motion to approve?
So
I have a
moved.
motion
Is there a
to
second?
approve.
Second, Dr. Desir. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, kindly raise your
Aye.
hand. It's unanimous. Moving on to the public comments. I don't see anyone from the public on the screen. Janice, do we have any correspondence from the public?
No, we do not.
Okay, moving right along to the financial report.
Just for information, how would the public get in? How are they notified? 'Cause
But it's my understanding that the Zoom notice was posted. So anyone, according to the agenda, anyone that wished to participate can join the meeting and participate during public comment. And I would just let them in if I saw them. Financial report, Chief?
So the financial report after finishing the first 4 months of the fiscal year 21 budget, we're about a third of the way, and we're right on track with that. Some of the lines that you might see. One of them is police overtime that we usually address. It's like a 38, just a little bit over 38% or so. But we're anticipating that'll come down with reimbursements from FEMA that I had mentioned before were associated with the tropical storm. We also had some overtime dispatch, a significant amount of overtime dispatch, but that's due to our vacancies. We've been down a dispatcher since prior to the start of this fiscal year. And we're still down. Then we were down 2 for a bit, and now we have 1 in training. So hopefully you're getting back with that, but that should be offset by the salary side with that. And data processing is up there as well, but about half of that remains encumbered. And a lot of those some of those costs were unanticipated, but they're associated with our planned network infrastructure phase 2 project that's getting ready to be put into place. So the upgrades that we were making, the standard upgrades that we were making, had to be changed a little bit so they would fit in with the phase 2 upgrade. And just one issue that I want to bring up under the financial report was regarding overtime, and it's concerning the United Illuminating. Their payment policy has somewhat changed, and it's under discussion now between myself, the finance director, and our account manager. Usually, if you recall the way it works, this is throughout their UI territory, that during emergency power restoration periods, storms and weather-related issues, or anything that's an act of God like that, the town and the police department, we pay the officers fee to have them work while restoration is being done, emergency restoration is being done. Then once that's completed, the UI would go back to the regular private duty, extra duty rates, as been the practice for years. Recently, we got a couple invoices turned back to us, like in excess of like $7,000 so far, that they're saying that they're not reimbursing the municipalities for police overtime beyond a certain date. So they're stretching it out further than it was before. So that's something that Tony's been in touch with the UI, and we're waiting to hear further how we're going to proceed with that, because if that's not rectified, it's going to put a serious impact on our overtime.
Hey, Chief, can I ask?
Sure.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
I already know the answer to the question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. So if they won't reimburse us for police, why not put them in a position where they have to provide their own flag people?
Because that's probably what they want, but that's contrary to town ordinance and public safety. That's
So
what's said.
maybe there are certain jobs that I mean, I would think that if there was some major work being done on Amity Road or Center Road, that you would have to have police officers. But if it's a secondary road, or if it's the end of if there's an area that doesn't really command a police officer, maybe we should, if they're not going to pay us and we're not going to get reimbursed, then maybe that's something at some point we should, maybe Commissioner Burke should get involved with you and with Tony Genovese and see if there's some wording or some option that we can look at. Because it's kind of crazy. I was just about, I know it's going to sound strange again, but I was just going to compliment you and the police and the entire staff, your entire staff, that your percentage used is 33.5 and you're a third of the way through. So you're truly on budget, which is really great to see. And even your overtime is in really great shape. The caveat is that I think 125 is too high, but that's okay. Little joke.
No, we're trying.
But your numbers are really good. So, it would be it would really be something if you could keep everything in line, and if the UI is going to be
I don't really understand what the statement you said, that they would not reimburse us past a certain date. What does that mean exactly?
So they would, during the time of a statewide emergency, while they were doing the emergency power restorations, so say we had significant portion of the town was out of power for 3 days or so. So during that time, we'd have to cover all the public hazards, and we'd have to cover their make safe crew trucks that come in to do the restoration. We provide them with personnel for that, and so on and so forth with that. And then once the power was restored back in town, for the most part, we even actually went out a little bit further, because they said even though the power was back, they might have to come, in the next day or two after that to touch up on some items that they kind of just jury-rigged to get the power back on. So we said, okay, well, we'll grant you that too, and we'll work with you with that. And that was all fine. But then recently we got these two separate invoices, and they were for jobs that were weeks and weeks later, and they're trying to say they were attributed to the storm. And so there's some discrepancy on it, but hopefully we're going to be able to work through it and remedy the issue.
Is that included in is that included in your overtime number right now, the 7,000 plus whatever that second invoice is?
I don't think that they've taken that out yet. So that
Okay.
part hasn't been taken out yet. That's
So
kind of
you're
still up in
saying
the
that
air.
it-
The invoices the two invoices are pending. So
Okay, so are you saying that they're in this number or they're not in this
no,
number?
they are not in that number.
Okay. Well,
But
I'll
the
compliment
overtime,
you, though. I mean,
the
it's
FEMA
really,
overtime is in there. Yeah.
yeah, but I mean, your numbers are really, right in line, and
So
it's great to see.
we're
So
trying, we'll
congrats.
get through that too. It's, it's just something that has to be ironed out, but I just wanted to make you aware of it.
Sure.
That's about it with the financial report.
Any other
So-
questions? Oh, I'm sorry.
There was one question I had. So the dispatch, you're almost at 100% on the dispatch overtime.
Correct.
So,
You
I mean, obviously, you're only a third of the way through, but we're at a full staff now with dispatchers. Am I right?
No, because one of them is not part of minimum manpower, so she does not count. So, and the other one so we have 6 dispatchers, and we were down to 4 at one point. So now we're up to 5. But that 5th one really just started about a month ago on her own. So we're up to 5 full, and then the last hire that I'll talk about when we get under personnel, she's in training, so I'm hoping that she'll be cut loose. So hopefully around the holidays or shortly thereafter. Then we'll be up to full staff with them.
So is there any way to mitigate that number going
No,
forward?
because we just, that's only the number of bodies we have. Once we get to 6, we'll be able to mitigate it, but.
Are there any people, and I know we talked about this, and I know this might be just a suggestion, but you might want to consider it. Would you consider to reduce the overtime, maybe seeing if there's a retired dispatcher that might want to pick up a few shifts? Is that something that we could possibly do?
Yeah, I mean, that's a possibility. We'd have to, get funding for a part-time dispatcher or two. So moving forward, I think we have a lot of plans. We're actually working with that dispatch consultant, the town, and the fire chief and myself are been in touch with him. So let's see how that plays out, and that might be part of that.
Okay.
So,
Steve, I remember when we brought that up before, it was less of a function of financing a part-timer than it was of a union issue.
Okay. I know we talked about it in the past, and the only other question I have, and I really don't want to belabor it, but I'm just kind of curious why you basically used all your data processing money.
that was the one I just mentioned. Well, there's like 45, almost 46,000 encumbered. So a lot of that is the running PO for the TBNG, the company for that. And then a lot of those, there were 3 or 4 different items there that ended up being big ticket items. That's what I was mentioning. They're associated with the
Okay.
the network upgrade, the phase 2 project, that infrastructure that we're doing townwide.
So that's the line item that comes out of. That doesn't come out of some capital improvements number, or
Well, it comes up for now. I spoke to Tony about that because that was my concern, and we were going to work at moving some things around. But he said for the time being, put it into this line, and then when we max out on that, we'll readjust it and address it that way, because there is funding for the phase 2 project.
you really should have a capital expenditure line, I would think. But I mean, listen, that's something.
Yeah, I think we used to, but that's something. I guess moving forward, when we get all this
Okay.
IT stuff in order, then hopefully that's
Okay.
probably what the goal is. Yeah.
So do you need a motion to approve the financial
We
report?
do, yes.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second? Dr. Freed? Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Passed unanimously. Next item on the agenda is the activity report.
So on the criminal activity side for the months of September and October, just a brief recap. We had 1 burglary on September 24th, a residential burglary on Upper Litchfield Turnpike at night when there was an attempted entry at a door. And that wasn't reported actually until the next day. and it's believed to also be associated with the theft of a vehicle that was taken from close proximity there during the early morning hours. Over the last couple of months and prior to the election, we had a lot of larceny complaints and criminal mischief complaints associated with damage and theft of political lawn signs. That was here, and that pretty much was statewide from what I'm hearing. ISU had a drug complaint opened up into marijuana being shipped out of a local business. They executed a search warrant with that, and there's an arrest warrant pending now at court. Beginning of October, we had a non-fatal heroin overdose at a private residence. And Narcan was administered by the responding police and medical personnel. We had 5 reported larcenies from vehicles, unlocked vehicles, mostly during the overnight hours that cars were rummaged through. And they were in various locations throughout town, including Beecher Road, Vernon Court, Woodbine Road, and Acorn Hill Road. And we had 3 incidents involving stolen motor vehicles during September and October. On September 8th, we had a vehicle recovered that had been stolen out of Ansonia and was found by an officer on patrol, was abandoned up at the Country Club of Woodbridge property at 50 Woodfield. On September 25th, the vehicle was stolen from a car on Litchfield Turnpike, most likely associated with that attempted burglary that I had mentioned just a minute ago. And that car was recovered in New Haven the next day. It was processed for forensic evidence, and so they're awaiting some results on that. And on October 20th, there was a vehicle stolen out of a parking lot of one of the local businesses on Litchfield Turnpike. The operator went inside, left it running for a short period, the key fob inside, and when they came out, the car was gone and ended up being recovered the next day in New Haven. As far as some of the criminal arrests for the last couple of months, they served an arrest warrant for an identity theft, forgery, and larceny impersonation charges on the subject responsible for 2 separate fraudulent check cases that had occurred back prior.
What
On
category?
the 23rd, they served an arrest warrant on our suspect responsible for an assault that occurred in June of an attendant at a local gas station in a convenience store, Litchfield Turnpike. On the 25th, an arrest warrant was served on the subject for a sexual assault and a risk of injury to a minor, following an investigation into a sexual assault investigation that occurred at a private residence that was initiated back in March. And this month so far, they served an arrest warrant on a juvenile from New Haven in connection with an armed robbery and carjacking that had occurred back in June at a Litchfield Turnpike store and gas station location. And just the other day, they served arrest warrants on a suspect that was responsible for 3 separate commercial burglaries that occurred in June at businesses located down on the flats on Lunar Drive and Bradley Road. And then just additionally this month, ISU took over 2 other reported sexual assaults that came in during the past month. So those investigations are ongoing. They're working with the postal inspectors regarding to some mail fraud, stolen check cases. They've been in contact and at work with the U.S. Attorney's Office in regard to a past kidnapping and robbery investigation that's coming to fruition with sentencing set for, it got pushed out and now it's set again for later this month. And they have a habeas request at court where they'll be serving an arrest warrant shortly on a subject responsible for a commercial burglary that occurred at a Bradley Road hair salon. And he was out of state where he got arrested, but he was recently extradited back to Connecticut from South Carolina. And then on the administrative side for them, they during September and October, they processed a total of 27 public fingerprinting requests. And believe it or not, 39 pistol permit applications in a 2-month period. Has to be kind of a record number for us. So it's been busy, but
Can I ask a question about the stolen political signs?
Yeah.
It's obviously very distressing. I'm glad to say I had about a zillion on my lawn. None were stolen. This may not be possible to answer. Do we know of which political stripe they were stolen from? Which may be not the right kind of question, but I can't help but be really curious.
No, but
It's
they,
the-
you know what, they were actually both.
Always stealing the Trump signs. I mean, what do you think? Come on.
It was me in the middle of the night, but I didn't want you guys to, like, out
Saw
me.
you on my front lawn. You didn't think I noticed? I have cameras.
It wasn't me.
They were from both parties. So.
But I will show you my mug.
I was going to say that's an inappropriate mug to be having on a non-political commission.
This is my mug.
Howdy. I didn't even do it on purpose. It just happened to be the mug I had.
Yeah.
Her
Okay.
other mug
I
said
thought you-
Obama.
I think
What I would rather have you say is that you used that mug and showed it online specifically for me. At least I know that I'm wanted.
But I just want to go on record. I think people should leave people's political signs alone. I think it's disgraceful that you, regardless of who it's for.
It's also a felony, isn't it? Isn't it it's a crime?
No, it's not a felony.
I mean, not a felony, but it's a crime, isn't it?
Well, I mean, any theft that has of something of value is a larceny 6, even if it's $1.
But you can't come on people's property and take their stuff.
No.
But it was all kinds of signs. It was Black Lives Matter signs, all different lawn signs. But it was just a sign of the times. Hopefully, we're beyond that for now, and we'll move
This cycle
forward.
didn't bring out the best in people,
No, but
Point well taken.
from any side. So
I want one of those mugs, Debbie.
What's that?
I want one of those mugs, the one you get held up.
It's a good mug, right? It's from Salem, Massachusetts.
Great mug.
Really?
Does,
That is a great mug.
and then
does anyone
to
have any
finish up-
questions? I'm sorry.
did you want me to go right to the motor vehicle and just do it all?
No, I want to know where you got the mugs first because I want to get 2 for Christmas.
Which one?
The which mug?
The
Not
which
the
mug is
Not the Biden Harris mug. I mean, what am I going to do with that in this house? The which mug
seriously.
do I have?
I've
Salem-
really lost control of this group.
Okay, you lost.
I can-
Can I ask the chief one question? The very first thing you mentioned was a identity theft arrest.
Yeah. Yes.
But what category would that be under in on this list of things?
It was probably under one of the fraud categories, and there wouldn't be specifically under identity theft, but it would be under.
Right, be under fraud? Okay.
Forgery, maybe, or
I just.
Yeah, or it's probably combined with the larceny. It's just one, multiple statutes under one.
Hey, Chief, I actually was going to ask that question after Dr. Desir. Where did it take place? Was it an older, I know I can't really ask names right now, and I'm not interested in that, but was it down at one of the senior facilities or something?
No,
or?
it was a private residence, and I mean, unfortunately, it's not an uncommon occurrence with all the, fraud and forgery and
Can you
things.
tell me-
So-
Can you tell us what the circumstances were, how it happened? Was it like someone cleaning somebody's house and they took their wallet, or what was it?
Yeah, I mean, I'd rather not, because I don't want to get, it's still, there's an arrest made, but that's all pending, so it probably won't be proper to get into
All right.
specific details in public. But
I'd be interested in at
Yeah.
some point after
yeah,
you're
we
able
can talk
to.
offline if you like. But yeah.
Okay.
And then if you want, I could finish up the activity report and
Yes,
just
please.
summarize the motor
All right.
vehicle. So the traffic enforcement, as I'm sure you saw, continues to be limited and consistent with that as what we reported for the last several months. And this continues in correlation with the restrictions we put in place throughout the pandemic, and also with the officers' concerns and all the uncertainties that have been associated with the issues of police reform, accountability, and just the current tumultuous state of our society over the past several months. But to offset that a little bit, last month I instituted a new general order, which requires standing deterrent traffic post assignments, in addition to some of the other assignments, for all 3 shifts, so that we'd have provide a high visibility of the police presence at some key intersections. And just as a note with that overall,
The video,
despite all that overall, our traffic accidents are significantly down from where they were at this point.
I think it
10
might be
months.
audio, chief. I didn't hear what you requiring something, but I didn't hear what that was. You requiring during traffic. He just,
When you said you came out with another order, a general order
Yeah, yeah.
for shift, what was it? Dr. Desir didn't hear what.
Oh,
what
I
the order
think
was.
it was a traffic safety post assignment, so it's a standing general order that twice per shift, each officer will go to key locations that we picked out in town and provide a visible police presence to help deter traffic violations. And just overall, just a general comment, overall, our traffic accidents are actually significantly down from where they were at this point. In the first 10 months of last year, we're down like, I think 62 fewer accidents so far this year. So that's a positive thing. I mean, I think we can take some of the credit for it, but I think probably some of it, to be honest, is associated with COVID, with the pandemic, and there was a little decrease in traffic there too. But between the two of them, that's where we're at. And that's all I have for the activity report.
Okay, so is there a motion to approve the September and October activity reports?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Is there a second? Dr. Sears, second. Is there any further discussion on this?
are there particular routes or streets that are problems with speeding? In my mind, Route 69 is a huge speeding problem, but
Yeah, I mean,
I have no data to.
the major roads are, but probably because they're wide and they have a lot of traffic. But we also have we also receive a lot of complaints from the residents, the residential areas throughout town. The same concerns. So it's an ongoing concern that we try to address, and we try to get the speed trailer out there, things like that. But there's not a lot of traffic lights, and it's not like in the city, so there's that kind of feeds into it a little bit.
All those in favor? Unanimous, thank you. Moving on to the report of the chief.
Okay, so the first topic I had was an update regarding the Beecher Road School Ad Hoc Security SRO Committee. And that's a committee that Dr. Freed and I were both members of. And just to remind you, the charge of that committee was to make a recommendation to the Woodbridge Board of Ed on security personnel needs and costs for the fiscal 21-22 Beecher Road School budget. So at our last meeting, which was on October 4th, the committee's decision was to recommend that because the Woodbridge School District currently has an interim superintendent, and because we're all in the middle of the annual budget preparation process, that for the upcoming fiscal year, the Woodbridge Board of Ed should continue to budget for full funding of the SRO as is for the time being until the new superintendent comes on board and can be part of the decision-making process and lend his or her views of what their thoughts and intentions are. Additionally, the committee recommended that the cost share be reviewed by the Woodbridge Board of Ed on an annual basis moving forward, and that the committee is going to be request that the Board of Ed reconstitute a similar ad hoc committee that will include participation of the new superintendent to investigate unanswered questions, and also that by no later than April 1st, 2021, the new superintendent sets a date for this new committee to meet for the first time. So pretty much, things are status quo with that till we move further down the road and they get a new superintendent in place.
What's the status of the SRO at the high school?
So both of our SROs went back when school went back into session. So they're both there full time, and the one at Beecher is being funded by the Woodbridge Board of Ed budget, and the one at the high school is being funded. I think it's like 77.5% or somewhere thereabouts. I don't have the exact number right in front of me, by the by the Amity Board of Education budget.
And did we ever get the back funding from Bethany?
No,
No.
The short answer is no.
no, not yet. I push every once in a while and I haven't gotten a response.
Speaking of the high school, Frank, is it as sort of emotionally driven, the Beecher Road School? It's clearly people's hearts are kind of broken during the pandemic, and keeping things status quo seemed extremely important to a lot of people, even though people realized there's more creative and cost-effective ways to solve this. Is the high school similarly organized? Is it the same kind of heartfelt kind of decision?
I think it is. I'm sure it is by the parents. I know it is by the administration and the staff, you know, the faculty.
Mhm.
But there's not the needs, but it's just they're like two different types of entities, because one are the young adults and one are
Yeah,
more of the young children. The other ones are the young adults. I don't know if that. So,
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, but both school systems are passionate about it.
Yeah.
And want to keep it in place.
yeah.
And it's just the funding is, you know, it always comes down to the funding issue.
Yeah.
So that's kind of
Yeah.
where we're at.
Thank you. Yeah.
So the second topic I had, just briefly, No Shave November. So as we have done for the past several years now, again, this month I'll be allowing our dispatchers and officers to participate in the No Shave November annual fundraiser to raise funds supporting cancer prevention research and education. Again, this year it'll be in partnership with the Connecticut Cancer Foundation to benefit cancer patients in Connecticut. It's a little bit different this year due to the corona pandemic. We had to switch things up as did some other agencies where the police are the first responders on medical emergencies, as we are here. So we won't be allowing our officers and supervisors to grow facial hair because it doesn't facilitate a good seal being made with the use of the N95 face mask. So in lieu of growing a beard, the No Shave November organization came out with face masks with a printed logo on them and a little mustache, and they provide those to those who want to participate as a substitution. So I wish the guys the best of luck for another successful year with their fundraising for that, because it's a very important cause. Moving on, weapons return and replacement. So over the past few years, you might recall we've been replacing and upgrading our firearms, our long guns, and then recently we did all of our handguns. Approximately 3 years ago, we were able to replace some of our patrol rifles that are carried in each of our patrol vehicles. That they were older and they needed to be refurbished. A lot of them were older military surplus weapons. And we did that by using asset forfeiture funds at the time, but we didn't do all of them. These are the rifles that go out and patrol in each vehicle, and they're there in the event of an active shooter or some similar type threat. So we have 3 final remaining older rifles, and so I'm planning on replacing those with weapons that are similar to the other ones that we had done prior to this, so that moving forward, all of those guns will be equipped and operationally uniform and standard, so to facilitate our training and then our operational procedures. So no matter what car you get in, those guns will be uniform. I talked over and discussed it with the finance director, and he agreed that we just do it the same way that we did in the past, and I'll use our some of our asset forfeiture funds. It comes to a total of just under $7,000. That would permit the replacement of that vehicle without impacting our budget. And on the flip side of that, by doing that, it'll also allow me at the same time, we're in the works of returning a bunch of our older long guns. At one time, several years ago, the department acquired a quantity of M16 military surplus rifles from the Project North Star. It was a Department of Defense military surplus program. So long and short of it was with the replacement of these 3 guns and our other guns, I'll be able to return the majority of those guns back to the military, because we won't have any need for those. We'll just keep, I think we're going to keep 6 guns for ceremonial and honor guard purposes with that. So with that being done, and with our most recent upgrade from to the Glock handguns and all those replacements, all our weapons, both handguns and long guns, will be standardized and new, and will be in good shape for many years to come on that aspect. So I just want to make you aware of it. I don't need a motion because it doesn't meet the threshold for that. But as long as everyone's aware of it and doesn't have a problem with it, should be good to go on that. And then the last topic I had was the 13th month board meeting schedule. And Janet sent out a copy of the proposed police commission schedule for 2021 in your package for your review. We'll plan on having the meetings, continue as we always do, the second Tuesday of each month. But as we've done over the past few years, with the exception of that being during the summer, when they have the concerts on the green, hopefully we'll be able to get back to that this summer. Those are on Tuesday evenings. So as we customarily did, we'd move those two meetings up a day to the second Monday of the month. So that would be Monday, July 12th and Monday, August 9th of 2021. So Janice has to file that with the town clerk prior to the end of December. So we need a formal motion.
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second? All those in favor? Unanimous.
I'm sorry, Rob, who was the second?
That's a motion. Who moved?
I moved.
Steve did.
Who seconded?
Dr. Desir, actually 2 seconds, but so that's a
Debbie.
motion to approve your report or approval of or both?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah, just for the weapons. I mean, I'm sorry, just for the
schedule.
Just for the schedule.
The weapons at the schedule. Whew. And just for the record, I checked Heap Cal, so it doesn't conflict with the Jewish holidays, just saying.
Good to go.
And this is just what has to be published. I mean, if there was an issue, we can always have a special meeting.
We kind of adjusted to go anyway, right? I mean,
I'm sorry?
we've always adjusted when things came up anyway to accommodate.
Sometimes. Okay, next item is personnel.
Okay, so on personnel, just a quick update, as I touched on before, our newest dispatcher, Jen Arpino, over the last couple of months, she passed her final steps with her requirements and medical screenings, and she has since began her training and orientation period. She started that back on October 19th. So once she completes all of her training mandates and is proficient with our protocols and the new radio console, we look forward to getting her on board and getting our dispatch staff back up to full complement. And quite frankly, that can't come quite soon enough with what I'm going to tell you in my second part of this personnel section regarding extended absences. So we've had a flurry of absences that we've been trying to deal with. As recent as yesterday, we found out that one of our dispatchers had tested COVID positive. So at that point, we'll be down that dispatcher, for approximately 14 days. And also there was a second dispatcher that had a possible exposure with the first dispatcher because they work together up there. That dispatcher will also be out, but hopefully not quite as long. So just with those two vacancies, that puts us up to another, I don't know, I thought they said just under 20 overtime shifts that are going to have to fill with overtime and extended shifts. But, it's part of something that we're going to have to deal with. Last month, we had a dispatcher who was out of work for an extended period, due to a COVID-related exposure, but she has since returned to work. And then we also had an officer who tested positive for the coronavirus. And he had been out since we last met. He had been out for the 14-day quarantine period as well. But thankfully, he's back and recuperated and has received clearance. And then we also had two other officers who were out on shorter distances for potential non-work related exposures. But both of them have been cleared and they're back to work. And recently, we received a request from one of our sergeants that he's planning to take an extended absence. He had notified us that his wife was due, but they actually had a baby boy just the other day. Everyone's doing well, but he's going to be utilizing accrued time off, sick and vacation time for a good portion of the month of November as well. And then, as I had mentioned at our last meeting, we have another officer who's also had a new baby, and he's going to be out in the month of December associated with that. And then to top that off, most recently, unfortunately, we had 2 officers that went out on workman's comp related injuries, one on the 28th of October and one on the 2nd of November. And both of them are out of work injured and are out on workman's comp. So that's kind of where we're at. We had a lot going on in the last few weeks. And to that end, staffing has been a challenge, as you could see. And but we're doing our best with the resources we have, and we'll get through, and hopefully all these people will be back to work soon. And that's all for.
Frank, were those officers?
That kind of, Steve, weighed into the question before we were talking about dispatcher overtime, the COVID. I didn't want to, I've waited until we got the personnel, but those absences also, besides being short, then we're even.
You got a problem.
Yeah, it is. Well, yeah. One day
What
at
I
a
would
time.
suggest is to tell Tony what's going on, or which I'm sure you already have.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, we've been in touch.
You're going to have to augment your budget, because those are extraordinary. It's an extraordinary.
Yeah, everybody's on board with it. So yeah, we're all working together. We're good. Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay. That was all, Ron.
Okay. The next item is the budget approval.
Okay, so we prepared our capital budget for fiscal year 22, and Ray and I worked on that, and I shared it with Commissioner Esposito and Commissioner Falsigno of the budget subcommittee over the past recent weeks. And we had 5 different projects that are being proposed. The first one was vehicles. These were patrol vehicles. To continue having a dependable fleet, we're looking to purchase two new 2021 Ford Utility Police Interceptor SUV vehicles, like we've been buying for the last several years. I can't stress enough that these are not additional vehicles; they're replacement vehicles. So those just serve to enhance our fleet, not to increase the number of cars we have. And currently, some of the marked patrol cars that we have super high mileage, ranging from 97,000 plus to over 116,000 miles. And these cars that we're proposing are for, the next budget, which wouldn't take place until that July. Then by the time, if they were, approved and ordered, it'd be another 6 or 7 months. So we'd have another year or so to go with, just to add to those miles. So those come at a cost of $48,834 a piece. So that amount for vehicles that we were putting in was $97668. The second project was door security, and this was something we addressed last year. And
You retire to when you do that?
I'm sorry.
You retire to?
We do. We take the 2 oldest ones out usually, and get rid of those, and then we move 2 down and use those for extra private duty jobs. And actually, most recently, we just got turned over a car to Human Services Department to augment them, because their car was out of service. So we gave them one of our cars. So we shuffle everything, and everything just cycles down. And the ones pretty much that we sell or auction off are pretty much useless as an emergency, totally useless as an emergency vehicle, and somewhat useful, I guess, as a passenger vehicle if somebody wants to work on it. But we get the biggest banging for our buck out of it with our mechanic. We keep it to the very end. So the second project is our door security enhancement project. You might remember we proposed this last year, and it was an S2 door locking system. It's the electric swipe system. We were proposing that for our front and back door, with the capability to do other doors within the facility, and that would restrict access. Because right now it's just a standard key to get in and out. That was proposed for fiscal year 21. It was subsequently moved out by the Board of Finance to fiscal year 22. So we're looking to do that this coming fiscal year. And I spoke to the vendor, and he was willing to honor the same price as last year. And he's actually doing the same work throughout the town hall and the center complex. So it's all on board with that. The third project that we had was a body worn and dashboard camera enhancement from what we currently have. We're fortunate that we already had, prior to me taking over, we had body cameras and in-car videos all in place, but we just need to modify that more to stay in compliance with the recently enacted legislation. That goes along with the recent public act concerning police accountability, that Public Act 20-1, House Bill 6004. So we're seeking to purchase additional supplementary equipment of body-worn cameras, patrol vehicle dashboard cameras, and some integration software and software portal sharing upgrades and technical support for that. So long and short of it is that comes to approximately just over $29,000 for that. And the last two topics was one that we put in last year, speed awareness monitoring trailers.
For the body camera, there's no grant. The grant funding is perhaps.
Yeah, well, I think they're saying that there will be some grant funding coming forward, but the problem was, I think that from what I've heard so far is coming to the agencies that don't have any. There's a lot of agencies that don't have any cameras, in-car video or body cameras. So it's primarily for that. It's not to supplement the ones that already have it so far. But if that, we'll keep our eyes open for that. If it comes out, we'll definitely participate in any grants that we could. And the last two topics, one was another speed awareness monitoring trailer. We asked for 2 last year, and that was cut. But I proposed it again, but I pushed it out till fiscal year 23, so we could give it some more thought and hopefully make that work. And then the final topic was the one that we've continued to push for years. The building upgrade for the police department in general, in correlation with the space needs assessment that was done back in 2009. We continue to patiently wait for that and continually outgrow where we're at. But we understand, the current economic climate and all. And so in respect to that, we left it in, but moved it out to fiscal year 24, and we'll go from there. So those are the 5 topics, and the subcommittee was okay with it. Steve, I don't know if you had any comment. But...
No, I went over it with you. And
yeah, and Andy did as well. He was okay with it. So we need a motion to accept that if everyone's in agreement.
Is there a motion to approve the capital budget?
So moved.
And Dr. DeFreed, second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor? Dr. Sear? I see unanimous. Thank you. Is there a motion to adjourn the police commission?
Motion to adjourn police commission.
For a second. Dr. Sear, thank you. Moving on to the Woodbridge Traffic Authority. Is there anyone from the public that wishes to be heard? Janice, so there's any correspondence that we need to address for the Woodbridge Traffic Authority?
There isn't.
There are 2 issues on traffic matters, street light request and traffic committee update.
Yes, so the first one is a street light request. We received a formal request from a resident at 6 Sunset Circle for the installation of a street light at the corner of Orchard Road near the area of Sunset Circle. And she did complete the required town of Woodbridge streetlight application form. And in that, she cites the following reasons: an increase of children in the area due to new residents that moved in. The proposed light would be near that intersection. There's a curve in that area. There's high evening pedestrian traffic. And she states that the dense tree canopy makes the neighborhood dark much earlier than other neighborhoods. And she also mentioned that she said when she moved into that neighborhood back in 1976 that there was a street light in that vicinity, but at one point over the years, it's been removed. I went up there and checked. There are no street lights in that area. I did reach out to the town's account manager at the UI to check if there might supposedly had supposed to be a light there, or maybe it was moved or removed for one reason or another. And he got back to me to say that the town isn't not being billed for any light in that area, and he couldn't find any records of any lights being removed from there in the recent past. So with that, just as a refresher, the town's policy states that the installation of a street light would be for the purpose of increasing traffic and pedestrian safety along public ways, and with the objective being to reduce motor vehicle and pedestrian accidents by illuminating hazards or intersections. And so with that, I went back into our records and conducted a 3-year look back in case incident history for both Orchard Road and Sunset Circle, going back to October of 2017, and to report that there's been no reported motor vehicle accidents in that area, which is a good thing. And as required by the policy governing the decision-making of whether or not to install a street light there, I shared and discussed a request with the Public Works Director, Warren Connors, and we talked about it, and both of us agreed that based on a review of the Sunset Circle White Oak area and the lack of any accident history or problematic traffic safety issues, the request made doesn't fit the installation as stipulated in the town policy for the installation of a street light in the area, but I'll present that to the board for your consideration of how you'd like to proceed with it.
So Sunset Circle is an Orchard at that area are both dead ends, right?
Correct. Yeah, and actually Sunset's almost at the very end of Orchard.
I don't know where they are. Do you mind? I just want to look them up on.
So if
Problem.
you're on Forest Glen or from Newton Road, Orchard, it's the end of Orchard. There's a street that is right off of that Sunset Circle. It's
I
on the
have
south
to say
side.
I was around there a lot this summer. It's on my biking route, and I was there a ton. There's like no traffic there. I'm not surprised there are no accidents. It's great biking there, but there's like nothing doing. So I agree with you, Chief. There doesn't seem to be any need for, any light.
Okay.
I mean, there are 5 homes on Sunset Circle, and at that part of Orchard, there were 2 homes. And on the other side are White Oak. I think there were 3 homes. So it's a rather small, I mean, aside from being dead ends, it's only a handful of homes. Chief, it sounds like your recommendation to us would be that the traffic background doesn't really support a light.
Yeah, and to maintain continuity with the town ordinance, so we're fair to everyone that has such a request. I think it's important that we stick to the criteria and the data and the guidelines, so to take away any kind of bias around it. So it doesn't, if we go by the guidelines, it does not meet the criteria specified, unfortunately.
So do we need a motion and then reject it, or we can just not act upon it?
I think you have to.
I would defer to Janice.
Your signature. Eventually, you need yours, Public Works signature and my signature. But regarding the Board of Commissioners' action, it has to either be approved, disapproved, and then I have to get it to you for your formal signature too.
So I guess someone can entertain a motion to deny the request, right? Is there a motion to deny the request for a street light at Sunset Circle and Orchard? Dr. Freed moves. Is there a second? Anyone? Doctor's here. All those in favor of denying the request for a street light? Unanimous. Thank you. Are there any updates from the traffic committee?
Hey, Deputy Chief, is your audio working?
Ray, isn't that?
I believe so. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I mean, the traffic committee has a pretty heavy agenda with a lot of those complaints that the chief was getting regarding speeding. Just to answer the question that Commissioner Desir asked in the beginning of the meeting about speeding complaints. We're working with in the area of Rice Road, Newton Road, Route 67, Old Still Road, and Johnson Road. Two of the most specific areas are the area where the school drop off in the morning on Newton Road, because of the way a lot of the kids don't go in on the school buses anymore and they get dropped off. We're looking into some modification in front of the school, but we're still looking into that. The limitation for the committee is basically meetings, kind of like us. We don't have a time limit on our Zoom meetings, I believe. The ones that Chris Dickerson has been able to schedule, it's a 40-minute time limit for those Zoom meetings without having to pay for them. One of the most important things that we were working on in conjunction with Betsy Yagla at Town Hall is a state grant. It's called Complete Streets. It's it's promoting biking and pedestrian traffic.
The old suit.
We lost the deputy. Janice, could you tell him that we lost him?
Ray, I'll
Can you
I'll-
come in here? I'll hear you.
All right. Well,
Start with with safe streets.
Yeah, the biggest thing on the meetings is that you should be aware of is that the committee is working on two major things. And that's Newton Road at the entrance to the high school, where there was concerns about drop off and sidewalk and crosswalks due to the high volume of parents that drop their kids off at school now and don't utilize the bus. But they're working on that. But probably the most important thing they're working on right now is putting the draft letter together, supporting the town application to enhance safety in the town. It's a state grant. It's called Complete Streets. Betsy Yagla is promoting it and applying for it, but she asked for the help of the committee for recommendations. And this is just associated with pedestrian and bike traffic, but that's the basics. But it's tough organizing the meetings because of the limited time that we have for the Zooms. That's it for the traffic update.
Is there a motion to?
The town can buy a Zoom account that you can have unlimited length of meetings.
Yeah, so moving forward, that might be necessary, might probably be a good idea, but
And if you ever have a topic where there are a lot of people who want to come for
Right.
public comment, you're going to need that because you can't just have them all on the Zoom talking at once. They're going to have to put their comments in a chat feature.
right.
Whoever's running it is going to have to be able to let the commission and its guests in the Zoom boxes and everybody else in a different category.
Right, so, yeah, but we'll keep you updated, with the deputies meeting with them and our meeting with the traffic committee, and then hopefully somebody sees we can handle at that level, but if need be, we'll bring them to the traffic authority. We just wanted to give you an update of where we're at. So in one other area was Newton and Dogwood Road that we've been addressing. And that's all that I have for traffic.
Thank you, gentlemen. Is there a motion to adjourn the Woodbridge Traffic Authority meeting?
Motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn, yes.
And Dr. Seer seconded. All those in favor of adjourning tonight's meeting? Overwhelmingly unanimous.
Thank you,
Good to see you all.
Thanks.
Rob.
One of these days, we'll actually be meeting in person and have those wonderful dinners.
That'll be great. Can't wait for that tuna fish.
Yeah, not soon enough.
And you can make fun of me
Bye-bye.
eating the extra cookie. All right.